Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for ICONversations. The ICON program is designed to celebrate our company's top producers. These agents have gone far above capping status and are now earning back their paid company dollar with various stock grants, which are earned by reaching exceptional milestones. Today, for ICONversations, we have 5 of our amazing icons here on the stage, and let me tell you, I'm really excited for this show. From Minnesota, we have Trevor Howitt. From Michigan, we have Dylan Tanaka. All the way from Ontario, Canada, we have Richard Oyekunle. From Florida, we have Laura Marie. And from Massachusetts, we have our moderator, Leo Jesus. Leo, take it away.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you so much. Good morning. Oh, sorry, good afternoon. I'm still stuck on the morning here. Thank you so much for everyone for being here. And welcome to today's ICONversations, where we uncover the secrets to keeping a strong and consistent pipeline and the true life of every successful real estate business. Let me present you guys, as Brian already did, all the panelists that are here today. I want to thank you, all of you who are on the auditorium. Thank you for being here. And today is going to be a treat for all of you. Today, our esteemed icons will share their insights, strategies, and stories about how they keep their pipelines flowing, even with challenging markets. So, without further ado, let's dive in. I'm going to give a little preface on the question, and then we will start with Laura. So prospecting starts with knowing which strategies truly drive results. And every agent has a unique approach, but there is always one method that becomes their cornerstone for success. So here's the first question.
I'm all ears.
How open-minded are you to sharing the one prospecting method you can't imagine running your business without, and why it works so well for you?
Oh, absolutely. The more we share, the more we all prosper together. So it's so funny because there's a few things that I do in my business, and some of them are similar and some of them are a little bit different. I'm going to go to a couple of different key points. Number one, I am very referral and relationship focused. I know a lot of us are. We all build those relationships in slightly different ways. Partly one of my superpowers is that I am incredibly good at helping people analyze, even if it's just their first home, their second home, they're upsizing or downsizing, is it a good investment? And so I help people build large portfolios, that cash flow that helps them to begin to build their future and build long-term passive income for themselves and their family and the next generations. And with that being said, that's a skill set that of how I view things and also how I communicate to people. So when I'm talking to people, and I've gotten clients from the weirdest things, I think a lot of it is the willingness to be open and talk to people. So like I've even been out previewing houses and picked up really interesting clients. I work with a lot of investment groups at this point in time because one of my favorite types of clients is high level, heart-centric investors. And I'm just really clear on that because we've all had, some, I'm sure, very poor experiences with investors over the years. And so the right ones, though, and the right relationships really makes life incredible. Now, one of the major strategies, and a lot of people say like open houses are dead, they're ineffective. I do a lot of listings, and I have a marketing plan where we have all the marketing together, and then when we launch, we also pair it with open houses for opening weekend. And with the new rules and regulations, this is a really wonderful time to get to know people and actually have connections and conversations. One of the things I do different, though, is I don't make my people sign in at the open house. I greet them. I get their names. so I know who it is. And then I ask them if they want a tour or if they want to just go through the property. And it's actually, it takes a lot of stress off of people. And then I go out and I say, hey, so-and-so, whatever their name is, I make sure to use their name. What do you think? Are you interested? Tell me what you're looking for. And one of the key phrases I've learned over the years is, tell me more. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to buy it? And these things seem really simple and obvious, but I find that oftentimes people forget to do the obvious. So for me, open houses have been a major critical piece in continuing to grow my business. For instance, one of the closings that I had this week was from an open house lead that I had when I had like a 125 person open house. She literally, we connected. I did not get her information. She emailed me the
Mm-hmm.
next day saying, hey, you were so different than all the other 20 agents I saw out there today. I'd like to hire you. This is a person that as of today, we've closed 5 transactions. And the next day after closing, we had another property under contract because she likes to buy property. And she found out that that was one of my superpowers. And we have fun together. So the other thing is when you're connecting with people, the other piece that I've found incredibly critical to my success and even helping the other people on my team and junior agents grow into themselves is your energy and your intention. When I go out into the world, whether I'm just going to the grocery store, whether I am going to an open house or a listing appointment or selling a house, number one, I never say I'm going to go show a house. I say in my calendar, and it's in there in writing, I'm going to go sell XYZ this property or a
Mm-hmm.
property. Number one. And the energy and intention that you show up and who you choose to be in the world dictates how people connect with you. So I would say if you could focus in and hone in, because a lot of times people get so narrowed in on their own selves and their own problems. The very critical thing is be a go-giver. My intent and my vibration behind that intention, that prayerfulness, that a way that I conduct myself in the world is I bring humor, I bring soulfulness, I bring skill and knowledge to the transactions and to the people and everything, but they always can feel behind my words is a position of service. How can I be of service? And maybe they're not ready to buy real estate today, but what do they need help with? You know, we're dealing with
Mm-hmm.
a hurricane and disaster zone right now in my area. And while most people have forgotten, we've just had 2 historic level hurricanes, people are still suffering and they're still recovering from that. And so like me and everybody on my team, we've been out there, boots on the ground. What do you need? How can we help? What questions do you have? Because it's hard
Yes.
with people navigating these issues. And so people remember. They remember how you make them feel. They remember the energy you bring. So those would be the key things. Like I have
Mm-hmm.
my 100K plus a year open house formula that I use. I'm happy to share it. I have it
Yeah.
in PDF form. But it's be open, be intentional, make sure that you're clear on what you're bringing and how you're being of service, because we all have problems, we all have bad days, but no matter what day you're having, make sure you change that energy and show up for another person. It will serve you 100-fold. Like people will come back to you again and again and again because they're like, wow, thank you. Wow, thank you for
That
being and listening.
that's amazing. So basically, if I go back to our question here, is if we took everything away and you
Mm-hmm.
had to start over here, which is one of the like something you cannot be without would be the ability to create relationships with people, meaningful relationships with people. If you have that,
Mm-hmm.
basically you can start over at any time.
Yes. And so, and also be really clear on what type of people that you want to work with. So about 5 years ago I made a commitment to myself, and it was a commitment because it took some serious faith, shall we say. I only work with wonderful people. And when I made that commitment, my life became so much better. My ability to connect with people became so much better because my yeses became clear and my nos became clear. When I made that commitment to myself, Leo, I actually had to fire a $10 million client because he was not a good human. He was not the type of person I wanted to be associated with. And here's the other thing. When you say yes to helping people who are abusive or not, don't have good energy or good intent or and stuff like that, you then aren't even going to like the people they refer to you. So now, because I'm so clear on my yeses and so clear on my no's of what I will accept, and actually the last meeting was really cool. They said the world will begin to accept your boundaries. It was so beautiful because one of my boundaries became I only work with wonderful people. And so then you begin to attract wonderful people. You will begin to attract who and what you are. And so don't be afraid to have conversations. Tell people what you do,
Yes.
and your energy matters. Who you are, how you show up, and all of that type stuff matters. So, yes, I use a number of different techniques, but I haven't had to pay for a lead in over 8 years because I have a 98% referral base. I train my people to refer people to me. I'm never
This
too
is
busy for your
amazing.
referrals. And when you work with me, I also make sure that every single referral, and this is for agents too, I tell other agents, because agent referrals is one of my favorite sources of business, of like, look, when you send them to me, I'm going to take care of them with high service, but I'm
Hmm.
also going to give back and donate to Feeding Tampa Bay for the 1.5 million who are hungry right now to be supported, so that the community that gives me so much, we are always getting back for every single buy, sell, invest, or referral. Even if
That's
I don't close
amazing.
that referral, I still honor it. And so I think when people know who you are, where your heart is, where your integrity and intentions are, and then you're willing to show up, do the work. This is not a sexy ass business. I mean, people think it's going to be easy money. Instead, it's like it's a little interesting,
That is
at
true.
times.
That is true.
And you have to show up. And
Yeah.
you do those pieces, and it is really a powerful way of having repeat business again and again and again and again.
What an amazing story. What an amazing story. Thank you so much for sharing all this.
And
I'm gonna.
Leo, thank you for
Yes.
all the questions and the energy you've been bringing. You really show up in a wonderful way. So I wanted to make
Oh,
sure I
thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, we are going to circle back on another topic, but let me move into Richard. Hey, Richard, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Leo. Thank you for having me. And that was a great piece, Laura.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I love
Yeah.
learning from all of you.
Yeah.
Richard, how is that one thing that you couldn't think of doing without where you are in Canada?
Oh, okay, great. So one thing I definitely can do without in my business is understanding that I think Laura touched a bit on it as well. Understanding that the business we have is not just buying and selling homes; it's a solution-based business. So
Mhm.
I strongly believe that until we start viewing it that way, we won't serve the clients that we are client the right way too. Then it's all about, oh, I just want to get that listing. But if you see it as a solution base, then you are able to go above and beyond real estate. You're able to go past us, right? So even when clients reach out to you and it's not all about buying a house, you are able to listen to them, right?
Mm.
Even
Yeah.
when you have plans on site of selling their home or buying a home for them, and things are not going as planned, you know that you still have to stick to them because you just have to provide solutions to the problem. So that is one thing that's actually helped my business and the team. Then because of that mindset, then it opens me up to getting other network, other vendors in. Now I have people that I call my team who are contractors, who are financial planners, mortgage brokers, because I know I just have to be able to bring more value to the table more than just
Mhm.
buying and selling real estate for them. And because of that, that has helped me to increase, my production because sometimes they only reach out to me because of mortgage. And from there, it leads to I become the agent that represent them. Sometimes it's about, Richard, do you know any contractor in a particular area? Right. And I use my network to find them the right contractor, and they get to know that, okay, oh, you have a team member that occupies that region, and we're able to get the business through there. So what I try to do most times is I don't just want to be known for when you want to buy or sell. I want to be known for anything that has to do with real estate. Call
Mhm.
Richard. and that has actually helped to increase the volume of my business.
Amazing. Hey, Dylan, what is that one thing that you couldn't think of doing without?
Well, I would have to say I started in this business as a real estate investor back in 2003. I'm still heavily involved in investing and with investors. So to me, my network is absolutely priceless. Pretty much similar, to what was said earlier. I don't pay for leads, and it's just part of what I've built over the years as being a thought leader and being someone who teaches and shares and is just really open to help other people. And I think that's gotten me the furthest in life and in business itself. Sometimes it costs you a little bit of money up front when you spend time with people and you don't get paid right away. But with most of the guys and ladies I do business with, they buy and sell multiple properties a year. So I can do business with them multiple times in different ways, being a resource. So for me, you could, I'm in Detroit, so similar to Minnesota. It's not as bad here, but it has been snowing the last couple of days. And if you want to drop me in Miami, it's going to take me, 2 or 3 months, but I'm going to be super connected in a very short period of time. And those relationships are just going to outlast any marketing that I'm going to do, I think.
Amazing. So networking is the key thing here. Hey, Trevor, how about you share with us what is the one thing you couldn't do without?
Yeah, for sure. So I think we can start to see a pattern developing here is that everyone's talking about relationships and networking. So yeah, that would be definitely the same. But to add kind of maybe another layer of context on this question is we really rely heavily on what we call our UVP, or unique value proposition. So with that, our mindset is we want people reaching out to us versus us being more of the way I was trained growing up in the business since early 2000s was, more of the old school sales, make phone calls all day to people. So I think it's, network would be method.
Brother. Long time no talk.
Say that again. Oh, I think someone maybe answered their phone. That's all right.
Yeah.
So I guess that on that note, it's what are you providing out there that is different? Because when you really break it down, the majority of realtors are kind of doing all the same thing. So how can you stand out as someone that comes along and that message is, oh, this is something that's not the same as everything else I'm seeing?
Yes, that is true. And you basically said what my answer would be, which we also use the attraction instead of seeking the clients, we attract them. And yes, we do all have a pattern here, which pretty much none of us pay for ads anymore. And that is due to the quality of service that we are all giving out there. Because without that quality of service, we don't have repeat business. The only reason you can get repeat business is because you are taking care of your clients and solving their needs and providing above and beyond service to them, which leads us to the second question. And I'm going to start with you, Trevor, and go back the other way. What would it look like if you had to rebuild your prospecting process from scratch today? What's the first thing you would prioritize to ensure success?
I'll just look at this as if I'm a brand new agent. I am going to, number one, choose my differentiation point. What am I focusing on? What am I the expert at? And then once I have established that, I am going to start contacting everyone I know and just keep it very conversational. And then we really focus on with the networking is how are we providing value to people no matter what? And sometimes that might literally be someone to go have a cup of coffee with because they're having a bad week or month or what have you. We don't really just call and say, hey, who can you refer to me? So just focusing on the network of how can I provide value in any way, and then that value will come back to you. And I would create a schedule and just start making myself meet with people. And if I was starting a day, I would be meeting 2 to 3 people a day for as fast as I could, for as long as I could. And that business will start flowing, and I can guarantee that.
Amazing. Amazing. How about you, Dylan? What would be that one thing if you had to start from scratch?
I think again it goes back to networking, but more focused networking versus just showing up and meeting a bunch of people at a coffee meeting. Breath coffee meeting is what I call them in the morning when you're just meeting people to meet people. But having a little focus behind that, I've been through a lot of sales training, and something that I learned early on was we still have to serve, but to serve better, we still have to have a focus at the same time. So I think also having opportunities that other realtors maybe don't have. Again, because I work with a lot of investors and builders, I know about properties that are available and remodeled a lot of times before they hit the market, since I'm going to be the guy who's listing them, and I may be even the guy who found it for the investor, right? So I try to prove value that just the average other agent on Instagram, doesn't have, because I have insider knowledge, I guess, that other agents just can't deliver.
Yeah, that's very important point there. It's the other thing, the other pattern that I'm noticing is that we all have a lot of things in common, but we also have specific client avatars. And even though you work with investors and Laura also work with investors, you guys work with investors in different ways. So the point I want to make with this is that if there's anybody out there that feel threatened because of some agent they have in their market that's doing this or that, find out your own personal strength and use that to help your clients, because there's other people there in your market that will not be able to work with that particular agent because of many situations. But if you can identify who you are and you attract that kind of people, you will have success no matter what. Richard, how about for you?
For me, will be building a strong foundation. When I started, it was my first shot at as a licensed real estate agent. I was just trying to do everything to survive, right? And it seems like every quarterly, I'm doing something different, because as a new agent, I'm just thrown into it. If I have to do anything different, it's building strong foundation, which is being focusing on my CRM, making sure I'm getting everybody into my CRM and following up, building that strong foundation of that. I believe that I had a lot of leads that just escaped through the cracks in the first 3 years, because I was just trying to do everything and I wasn't following up. So it took me 3 years before I start to things get so busy. Then I had to now start focusing on CRM systems. So if I have to do it all over again, that would be my first thing. Yes, I didn't start with a lot of leads, but if I cultivated that habit from the get-go, I think it would have, pushed me way further. Yeah, but I'm still grateful for where I am today.
Wow. So I can see where you're coming from with this. Creating a database from the beginning will give you assurance of your success in the future, because you will have that list of best clients and sphere of influence that you can work on. Basically, going back to Dylan, I believe, was talking about the networking and having that ability or that list where you can work only with the people that you know, rather than going out there and try to find new ones. That's very key. Hey, Trevor. Sorry, I believe I skipped Dylan. Hey, Dylan.
Hey, I don't think you skipped me. I just talked a couple seconds ago.
Oh, sorry. I guess I'm going the other way. Now it's Laura. Hey, Laura.
Hi, gentlemen. I love your insights too, Dylan. It's so funny. That's how I work with a lot of my investors as well. Like being that person who's in the know and creating those off market. Actually, a lot of my sales are off market as well. So that's super cool. And you're asking like, how would we begin and start, fresh and new? I mean, and also I don't actually like networking. So just for context, I am a sociable introvert, which means I have a limited amount of talk time in me. And I'm sorry, I forgot which one of you said be intentional about your networking. Was that you, Trevor, or Dylan?
That was me. I talk a lot, but I'm intentional also.
Exactly. See, I love that. And being very intentional about what you're going to do. And so that if I am going out to an event and I know I'm going to put myself around people, my goal is to connect with people. So like, because my sphere of excellence is, I love investment real estate, even if it is still in the buying, selling, it's always with an investment perspective. And so I don't want to know. I don't actually even care most of the time. Like, what do people do? Like asking people more interesting questions. I would rather know, what do they need? What are their goals? What are they reaching for? So that then I can see how I can help them, how we can collaborate. Like, I feel like a lot of times people don't ask very good questions, or they ask the standard because they're socially feeling self-conscious. And so they're like, oh, what do you do for work? Honestly, I hate that question. It does not give me any information about the human. It gives me a few data points, but it's a lot of times people, what they do, but actually what matters to them are two entirely different things. So I'd rather know, like, different things about asking good questions and being extremely intentional in your networking and just being open to the opportunity and how you present yourself. And then it's actually, for me, like I actually teach a lot of the other agents and stuff like that, how to work with investors and even how to find the right ones, because investors will, and you can correct me, Dylan, but the wrong investors will eat you up, spit you out, and kind of use and abuse you unless you're clear and intentional about who you're connecting with. And good investors are like some of the best relationships you'll ever have, because instead of selling one house every 7 years or 5 years, we get to sell 5, 10, 15, 20 houses to one person. So you don't have to keep constantly doing new relationships. Like one of my favorite investors, that she's a school teacher, and we've gotten her a huge portfolio built over the last several years. She's like, Laura, my day is always better if I could literally just buy or sell something with you every single day. She's like, that would make me so happy because you bring good energy. And so build up the database, build up the communication, be intentional, but also be consistent. So, pick out what you can actually do, because I think we try to do too many things all at once. And then as a realtor, we're asked to wear many, many different hats, including ones that are like, they want us to be the insurance agents and the contractors and the therapist and all of these different pieces. And so break it down, keep it simple, tell people, structure the boundaries and stuff as you're building. And so that you have their contacts. Figure out how you work best. If you have a CRM, use it. Send out one email a month if that's something that you can commit to. Social media is really hard for a lot of people, but when you're building, like if I had to start really fresh, one of the biggest mistakes I made is and I'm still fixing it right now to this day. It's one of the commitments I've made to myself is I didn't do social media, and I didn't do as much video. And a lot of people, one of the big things that I find really not useful is a lot of realtors are like, oh, sold, pendings, oh, look at me. No, that's not what people care about. They don't really care about us. They care about what we can do for them. And so if I had to pick one thing, and one major mistake that I made was I didn't focus on social media and video, because when you do those things and you're putting out actual helpful, useful content, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm learning how to accept my imperfections in video and just do the thing anyways. Just do it. Follow up, follow through, connect with people, like do the videos that can actually be helpful and clone yourself. because those videos will stay online, you know, so that people can be surfing at 12 o'clock at night and then go, oh, that's an interesting person. I really like that message. And then they call you. Because I do get a lot of business, even just from social media to this day. But I want to do it better. That's actually part of my commitment. And so if I was beginning right here, right now, that would be the thing. And you just have to have a phone. We don't even need complicated equipment anymore. Like, people don't psych yourself out. Like, people really overcomplicate this. And we have tons of content. They're like, I don't know what to do. Well, go do a video on a house. Like, one of the videos I need to do right now is teaching agents and some of my investors how to look at a property for a co-housing opportunity, because it's such a huge ROI and cash flow for people right now. And people don't understand co-housing. It used to be called house hacking. Now we have all sorts of fancy terms. But so I have to do a couple of videos on just co-housing, and more videos that just with your natural everyday life and tasks of what you're doing, so people can see, oh. Because the other thing that I find is a big mistake is for realtors is they're making it look like, oh, we just go out, we show one house. Oh my gosh, HGTV, what the bane of my existence. Oy vey. And they make it like, oh, show 3 houses and they pick one. Well, I do actually have one client that I show her one house and she generally buys it. It's hilarious. But that's another story. And that's like rare, one person out of hundreds. So, you know, show your process, show the things that you're doing and the value that you're bringing, but do the video and do the CRM, get the freaking emails, because email is not dead, and just commit to one thing. Don't commit to everything. Follow through and then build it step by step. So you did that one thing, stay consistent with it, then add in the next piece, because people try to do too much too soon and then they feel like a failure when they can't do it. So you have to build the 1% better each day, each month, better and better, you know? So we get there. It's a combination of how everything adds up to that success points.
Yeah. And to piggyback on what you just said, Laura, it's part of the next question as well. What we decided to do in our market, because the other thing that's very important to understand is we all work in different markets, and the strategies that you are using, this is another mistake that happens. And I made that mistake at the beginning. I would watch somebody doing something in a specific market, and I would just try to copy whatever they were doing in my market, and it just didn't work. And I would oh, look at that. It doesn't work. See, it doesn't work. No, it's not that it doesn't work. It doesn't work in your market. Because we need to learn how our markets are so we can create or adapt that strategy into our specific market. And that's when we go to the next question, which says, following up with leads is an art. And this art is understanding the situation around us. It's not just about persistence. It's about saying the right thing at the right time to keep the conversation alive. Show up yourself in an interesting way for your leads. When following up with leads, what's your go-to way of ensuring they say, that's exactly what I needed to hear? So let's start with, go ahead, Laura.
Oh, no, I was like, yeah, that's a really good question.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with Trevor so we can get them, and then we can conclude that with you, Laura.
Perfect.
Okay, yeah, I think it's all about asking questions, and a lot of this would have to do with what stage that lead is in. But from the moment you meet someone, it's really focus on listening more than talking, you know, asking good questions and intently learn, you know, what is it that you can really do to help them accomplish their goals. And if you've done a good job of that throughout the process, you'll know what they need to hear. And that would be my suggestion on that is really learn what they need to hear, so then you can help them get there.
Yes. And basically, in order to do that well, what you basically say is like, you got to be present, listen attentively, and actually understand where they're coming from, so you can give them what they need to hear. How about you, Dylan? What is one thing that you think it's that gives you that way of giving the client exactly what they need?
So I'm going to agree with Trevor. I'm going to put a little quote inside the chat, and it's something I've learned talking too much my whole life. Right? It's asking the best questions possible. It is trying to listen 80% of the time and only speak 20 by asking questions that are open-ended and trying to get the answers that are most important to the person you're speaking to. Because I've bought a lot of properties from off-market sellers, coming up in this business again as an investor in my late 20s, which 25 years ago or whatever, 15 years ago, there weren't as many 18-year-olds flipping houses as there are today, right? There was no YouTube and that sort of thing back then. So I had to learn how to sit down, slow down, quiet down, and ask the questions that were important to what that prospective seller really needed the answers to, versus shouting about how many deals I had done, or in our world as agents, how many solds and pendings and how many millions. And credibility matters for sure, because again, in today's world of Instagram all-stars, any person can go and rent a car and have an expensive watch. That doesn't mean they're successful. But I think when you can sit with someone and make them say to you, which I've had people say to me, and this is like the greatest thing I can hear, no one's ever asked me that before. And I do a lot of podcast interviews, and I've done a lot of coaching and masterminds and hot seats where I'm like a facilitator. So I've learned how to do that and ask those open-ended questions, because it's about you in a conversation, not me. So it's kind of I think it's super duper important to learn how to ask those questions and not just wait to speak and talk about your stats. No one cares about that. All they care about is what you're going to do for them. And that's why you're there anyways. It's to serve that client, whether they're a buyer or a seller. Sometimes we can't do anything, but they could refer us to the most important person that's ever been in our life before.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. That is amazing. Basically, you gotta be able to give in order to receive. It's something that I made that mistake at the beginning, and it sounds cliche, but it's not. If you guys go to and look my social media, for example, Laura touched at something about oh, I just sold this house, or I just helped my client buy this house, or I did this open house. No, it's not about us. It's about the client. So if you see every post that we do about a sold property or a bought property from a client, we don't talk about us. It's about the client's story. It's about the struggles, their journey. And that creates attraction, because when people read that, they see themselves on that, they can relate, and then they want to have the same experience. This is so amazing. How about for you, Richard?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Bill and Trevor already touched on what they took it away from me. I would say listening, right? It's just better to listen for the most part, because the conversation is even about them, right? When we take over the conversation and we talk too much, then regardless of what you're saying, it's more or less like you're pitching, right? And that's the last thing you want to do when you call. So if we make it about them and we just listen, on the average, if you check the stat, it takes in between 10 to 15 minutes that prospect actually start to open up and feel the trust. But for them to feel that trust and start to open up of their deepest need, you need to give them room and chance for them to be able to talk for the most part, right? And also, asking the right question, being empathetic in how you ask your questions. Something like, oh, I do love to understand what your goals better. Making it about them, right? What is most important to you in this process? It's about them. What is the biggest challenge you're facing right now? It's about them. So when we are asking the right questions and you're giving them room to speak more, and not just and listening and not just trying to take charge of the conversation. And you not talking as much doesn't mean you're not taking charge of the conversation. That is you dictating the conversation, right? It's not about talking, it's more about listening.
Amazing, amazing. Hey, Laura, I have one thing, the next question here, because it's going to get very specific.
Okay.
So getting a lead is one thing, but converting that lead into a client takes finesse. It's about moving people from indecision to action. What's one phrase or approach you use to help prospects move from "I will think about it" to the next step with confidence?
Well, the gentleman on this panel really summed it up, number one, with the listening and everything, because there's a lot of phrases, there's a lot of people who can teach you scripts and all of that type stuff. I would say, let's start with number one, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. And then another big piece to this, and I know this sounds counterintuitive, Leo, but we as humans have to master our own discomfort at connecting and even talking and asking questions of another person, because a lot of times people get like, oh, should I or shouldn't I, and that they question, and oh, can I get this wrong? One of the best analogies I have is like when you are in motion, like a sailboat is in motion, you need to be in motion to be able to course correct. If you're dead in the water, you're not going anywhere. And so when you have a lead, it is that listening standpoint, but I'm going to actually I have this really cool investment property that I had so many people. I was like, shoot, I got one of my people, and I'm like, we got to do an open house this weekend just to like field the volume of people and see who we can help and the exposure for this property. And while we were there, we had a lot of people come through. I didn't really care about that so much as the few people that I was like, that lit up. So I'm a big fan of using my intuition along with my intellect, and that's what's created a lot of success. So there was one of the young women who came in, and I really loved talking to her. I was like, oh, and I was asking her questions of like, what are you looking for? Why are you looking for it? And she started telling me the story and even some of the things people that she's helping and why she wants the property. She'd been working with an agent that the contract's expired now, and she's been looking for 3 years. I'm like, holy smokes, you've been looking for 3 years? That's horrible. And she's like, what? I'm like, well, that's horrible, because she's like, well, the prices and the market's been up and down. I'm like, yeah, but in this market, you've just lost like 15-20% appreciation because nobody guided you and helped you understand what a good deal is, because there have been phenomenal freaking deals for the last 3 years. And she's like, what? I'm like, yeah, you literally probably don't have at least 100 to 150,000 in appreciation because people didn't help you know your yeses and your nos. And she's like, can I hire you? I'm like, honey, I would love to work with you. You're lovely. You're exactly who I was. But I listened to her first. I said, and I know this sounds really simple. Tell me more about that. It's what would this do for you and your family? And then shut up. People, it's really one of those things, like mastering the art of silence can be one of the most powerful things we can do as humans, as agents, as business people, and see what they say and listen, because a lot of times when people are listening, they're trying to think of what they're going to say next instead of listening to the other human, and people can feel it, or they're on their phones because we're, as agents, we're like, oh, phone. Well, I had my phone down. I just talked to her. There were several other people that ended up coming in and they're like, oh, we'd love to work with you. I'm like, absolutely. Let's go through this process and get you, going. And then we had several sellers come in. They're like, we really want to hire you. Like, and this was just for one open house that we did last weekend. We've got probably in the pipeline now 5 to 8 million in business. And then from there, though, like, it's just the following up and asking, hey, can we stay connected? Let's get this going. Or we're going to do this at your pace, but these are the opportunities. Because like right now in my market, September through December is like the prime time as a buyer. If you want a deal, buy now. Don't,
Yes.
like if you're in a good position, like don't buy if you don't have enough money or you're not ready. That's fine. But if you're ready or you don't already own at least one property, get in the game and get started, because that's what helps build your future more than so many different other types of streams of wealth. I mean, there's many ways to do it, but I'm not an expert in stocks. I'm an expert in real estate, and I'm an expert in how to build your life and your future with real estate. And so I think it's how you communicate and the way that you go for that you begin to move people from the oh, I don't know. Because like literally, she's been looking for 3 years. I'm like, that's horrible. Yeah. And actually, here's the thing. I will tell people, like, even they're like, oh yeah, we've been looking for 6 months now. I'm like, oh God, that's horrible. What's wrong? And I will literally use that because I want to know more of like, why have they been, I'm sorry, finding the property is not rocket science. You can have it done in a couple of days. You know, if you are clear on your yeses or your no, or you have strong people to give you confidence that we're going to get the job done for you, and helping people understand what they're actually looking for. The no's are as important as the yeses, but those are some really fun phrases to help people, move forward. Tell me more about that. And then if, 3 years was an easy, holy moly, that's horrible. Why?
Yeah.
That's a really great thing.
Yeah, and that comes from the place of, are you prepared? Because buying a house, it's not the right time to buy a house. It's not when the market's up or down, when the interest rate is up or down. It's when you are ready.
Exactly.
It's knowing exactly what you are looking for and having somebody help you understand, are you ready to get what you are looking for?
Yes.
First, understand, I'm looking for this type of property. Now, to acquire this type of property in this specific market, in this specific location, it's going to require this. And then having that understanding, finding a house should not be that hard. You go in the computer and you do the specifications there, and you're going to find that house. So I see your point. Yes, the yes and the no's, understanding what's the pros and the cons that you are looking for. Are you a family member? Like, are you want to be close to the family members to work to? So basically location. Understand your priorities. Definitely will help.
Well, and
to
I
shorten
would
that time.
say one other thing is really powerful here, and all of you on stage are experts, so you can chime in here. But one of my biggest things is I tell people what they need to know and hear instead of when I've listened to them, instead of telling them what they want to hear. So a lot of times I see agents go in and they're like, they want to get the listing and they give a price far too high. Whereas for me, or even a buyer, they're like, well, this is what I want and this is location. And I'm like, look, that's not going to work. And let me tell you why. These are the things. Let me show you. I always have my computer with you. I'm like, I can show you this. You don't have to take my word for it. And what you're looking for does not exist, but we can get close to it with this. Now, if that doesn't work, you have 3 choices. You could either change your price point, change your location, or change your expectations. Those are the only things. And when you argue with the market, you lose 100% of the time, because there are opportunities always in real estate. That's one of the things I love about it. We're an opportunity rich industry, no matter where we are. And so really, those are some of the phrases that I use to move people forward or to get them thinking in a different path. Because even like my brother, he's up in the main marketplace and he was on this like, oh, it's terrible. I can't buy anything. It's multiple offers. All the New Yorkers have bought up everything. I'm like, bro, no, like chill out. Like, this is what I do. He's like, well, you're in Florida. Like, it's the same thing, hon. I'm like, I know real estate. And let me get you connected in. And sure enough, he's the proud homeowner of a gorgeous freaking house now. And he had opportunities he didn't even know about. And so like sometimes I'll ask questions like, has anybody asked you or taken you through the process in this area? Like, has anybody helped to educate you on the opportunities we have here? It's awesome. And actually, I like to say things that will shock people out of their standard thing, because the media is cray-cray and is really inaccurate. And I'm like, and so I'll even use media headlines of like, you probably heard this. Did you know that's full of baloney? I'm like, Sometimes it depends on the person. I can get really salty. I'm from New England, people, so it's a thing. But
yeah,
say the things that other people aren't saying the unexpected, so that it shakes people up and gets them actually thinking instead of just headline. No, let's deal opportunity. What are your opportunities? So
yes. All right. We are at the top of our hour here. So Richard, Dylan, and Trevor, I'm gonna open up this point for you guys to either comment on the question that we were talking about. And the last question I have, I'm just gonna say it out there, and you guys can either comment on the last one or the following one. The last question is, if you had to double your pipeline in the next 30 days, what specific steps would you take to make it happen? And I'm going to preface this before you guys answer, saying on the last question, we were talking about the things to say, and Laura spoke about something like spice up the conversation so you can get the exact motive that the client is thinking, because what's going through my mind is that will save you as the agent, that will save you time. And you being specific on your, or purposeful on your conversations, allow you to provide better services to all the clients as well. So it fits right here. If you had to double your pipeline in the next 30 days, what specific steps would you take to make it happen? Any of you can answer.
Hey, Leo, this is Dylan. I'll make it super quick. I'll try to get this done in 1 minute. The first thing that I would do is I would write down what that goal is, because not enough of us do that. So if we don't have a target, we don't know what we're aiming at, number one. Number two, I would talk to every single person that I know, even if they don't want real estate, they know someone who does, and you don't think it's true, but you're 100% wrong, because it happens every single day. Number three, I would get to as many networking or really EXP events that I could get to, even if you can't afford to get to the big ones. When you get around people who are at that next level, I think it just motivates you and shows you it's possible. Because if you look at me, you're like, listen, if this guy can do it, but anybody can. And I went from selling about probably 10 or 12 houses a year over the last 15 years to being an icon 3 years in a row, because somebody challenged me and said, as a full-time investor, which I'm much more of a full-time realtor today, that you'll never, ever be able to make icon. So I hit my third time icon about 30 days ago, proved them wrong, which proved me right. So those are the things I would do.
Amazing.
Okay, I think I'll go down. So I'll go back to the one Laura answered, but to add to this, I would say for me to double my pipeline, definitely I need a community, but I need to find a problem. I need to find a problem in the market space. What are people struggling with? Is it mortgage? Is it affordable real estate? And I need to pitch the right, the right information to them. Now, if I'm doing that, then I definitely need to get other professionals like mortgage broker and build a community. And if it's going to be a webinar, if it's going to be a seminar, and get people in, but we need to talk specifically to the problem that they have, and now we can provide the solution. I think approaching it that way will get me to increase my pipeline faster. And the other question that Laura answered, I think she covered everything, but I just want to, touch on that as well. I think when you having conversation with a prospect is understanding the reason behind their decision. There's always a story behind it. Whether they worked with an agent before that, that messed them up, or, there's actually a particular need, or it's just that joy of their family to own a particular type of property. So taking time to listen and understand the reason. We are real estate professionals. There's nothing they want in terms of real estate that we cannot provide. But the thing is, just need to understand that inner need, and the story behind it. And with that, you are able to provide the right solution, and now be able to connect to that need. And that's where I believe the magic happens.
Amazing.
All right, I'll go real quick. I think, first of all, what everyone else said here has been absolutely phenomenal. So I'll give just a couple real easy, straightforward tips. We do mostly listings, list about 50 to 60 homes a year personally. One thing I'd say to get more yeses is take the risk out. All we do is we have all of our listing agreements cancelable at any time. putting the onus on us to work hard for them. And I can just say to people, look, let me prove to you I can make it happen. If not, you can part ways at any time. And then keeping the pipeline full, block out your calendar with prospecting. Like if it's not in my calendar, I might not get to it that day, but if it is, I 100% will. Commit, pick a time, and I'm going to do this every day and don't stop. Just keep being consistent. That's what really matters, is doing the daily tasks every single day, no matter what.
Amazing, amazing. I want to thank you all of our incredible panelists for sharing their valuable insights, strategies today, for leveraging niche communities and mastering follow-ups and turning conversations into commitments. You've given us a wealth of actionable advice. To our audience, remember, keeping your pipeline flowing starts with consistent creative and connection. Apply what you've learned here today, and you will see results in the business. Thank you for joining us today. Here's yours to continue your success in real estate. And Brian will have some final words.
I want to thank you all for being here. This was a fantastic panel today. I want to thank all of you in the audience, but I also want to ask you to stick around because you know what? For a